In case you missed it, Rivian had a factory shutdown several weeks ago, but it was planned intentionally so that they could update a lot of the vehicle lineup to make it more efficient, more cost-effective, and also improve the margins, which is a very important thing Rivian should be doing, and I'm glad to see them doing. But thanks to some leaks through some EPA filings, as well as people familiar with the matter, we're actually starting to see what a lot of these changes entail. And I have to admit, probably not as massive as a refresh as a lot of people were hoping, but what I'm happy about is it feels like a lot of the changes Rivian is making with the R1 lineup are straight up my favorite things about Teslas, including my car. So let's start off with some basic things like the infotainment that actually comes to older Rivians as well. They're finally adding YouTube and Chromecast to all R1 vehicles, which is really cool. I personally watch YouTube and all kinds of different media in my car whenever I'm on a road trip. Anytime we're supercharging, Tesla Theater is pretty much the first thing we tap. Love that feature. The cars have these great, beautiful displays in them. Makes a lot of sense to just turn them into little TVs whenever you're topping off your battery pack. So I was happy to see Rivian get YouTube as well, and Chromecast should allow you to put whatever content you want onto that big screen as well. So thank you, Rivian, for actually adding this very, very valuable functional feature to your vehicle. In my opinion, should have been there on day one. I hope other companies can add it as well. But more on the hardware side of new R1 vehicles, so if you're already an R1 customer, you're not going to get these things, so don't get your hopes up. But Rivian has reportedly added heat pumps to their vehicles, and they sound like pretty custom designed ones. These are not off-the-shelf heat pumps, and I think they're probably going to increase the efficiency of the vehicle by a wide margin, which I'm a big fan of efficiency, so I'm glad to hear that. But there's references on Rivian Forum's websites to these heat pumps having waste heat recovery features, which is also a Tesla thing, where any additional heat that is created by the powertrains and stuff, using that to heat up the battery pack for fast charging or heat up the cabin if necessary. Of course, there's filters and stuff to make sure the cabin is still safe for breathing and all that, but they've also relocated the air compressor to reduce the complexity and cost of it. Also, there's talk that the battery pack is getting its own designated heater rather than just using excess heat generated by the motors, which is, I believe, what they were doing in the earlier days. This should allow an improved charging curve on the new R1 vehicles, which is great. And of course, the big addition that I'm also another huge fan of, Rivian is finally adopting lithium iron phosphate battery packs to the R1T and R1S with this refresh. And thanks to these heat pumps and air compressor relocations and better battery pack thermal management systems, the standard range vehicles should still get similar range to what they were getting before, just to an overall smaller battery pack. The rumors right now are pointing to a little over 92 kilowatt hours, which is still a lot for LFP. Most LFP battery packs on the road right now are around 60 to 70 kilowatt hours. So this would still be one of the largest, like, consumer-owned LFP battery packs on the market. The downside, of course, is it will probably not qualify for many, if at all, federal tax credits, because those all require domestic production, and there's not a lot of that going on with LFP right now. The good news is, though, this should allow for cheaper prices. Knowing Rivian wanting to secure better margins, though, they probably won't decrease the price that much on the entry-level Rivians. But Rivian making sure that they have good margins ensures that the company can continue to exist, continue to develop future vehicles like the R2 and the ever-so-precious R3, which is the vehicle I think we all want in the end. So making sure that the margins are good are important, so I'm glad to hear that LFP battery packs should help with that. But more on the consumer end, LFP battery packs are known for having much higher cycle life than nickel-based battery packs, which is what Rivian has been using, and you can charge them to 100% as much as you want. Even though that the range on these LFP vehicles is probably not going to be all that different from the existing standard range vehicles, around 270, you should be starting every single day with around 270 miles of range, whereas if you opt for the large battery pack with its nickel-based cells, technically, yeah, that can go a lot further, up to like 350 miles, but you're probably not going to charge it to 100% every single day. For daily driving, 80% is honestly not going to be that different. You're still going to be looking at around 270-ish miles, and also, because it's a nickel-based battery pack, the degradation will probably speed up a bit more, and you'll be closer after 100 or 200,000 miles to that range of the LFP Rivians anyway. There's been some early EPA range testing that's been done that claim that the range is like well over 300 miles on these LFP packs, but I think there's a lot of misunderstandings going on with the reporting because Rivian hasn't officially announced these yet. So my prediction is that thanks to these heat pumps, the large battery pack and max battery packs will get some range boosts as well as some charging curve improvements, but I don't think it's the standard range like LFP battery packs that are going to be getting 300 miles of range. That's how I interpret this news. I think a lot of people are getting confused by the EPA filings and which battery pack is getting which range number, but the standard range LFP Rivians that are about to come out seem to only have 20-inch wheel size options. So Rivian is probably going to be cutting back on the number of tire and wheel sizes that people have had in the past, just trying to simplify mass production. And there's also been a lot of talk in the Rivian community that they're going to be dropping the forest green color option in favor of just having a black and a grayish interior option, just to keep manufacturing simpler, which is kind of what everybody was anticipating. Rivian had way too many options before, and they need to improve their margins, and this is probably the best way to do that. But overall, glad to see the infotainment is getting a lot more Tesla-like. LFP battery packs are awesome, and I'm glad to see them making their way into not just passenger vehicles like my Model 3, but also adventure vehicles like the R1T and three-row SUVs like an R1S. In fact, I don't know any other three-row SUV out there that has LFP battery packs, but it's an amazing cell chemistry. It's safer, it's very reliable, it has great cycle life, and all the documents so far are indicating that it should have a pretty decent charging curve for Rivian as well, so expect better charging sessions. And I hope this results in Rivian staying true to their earlier claims of having a gross profit on their vehicles by Q4 of this year. So far, they seem to be on track to do that, and I hope a lot of these changes are what enable those improved margins to happen. But probably the biggest miss, in my opinion, on this big refresh is they still, unfortunately, have CCS1 ports on them. I was really hoping Rivian was going to pull a fast one on us and switch to NACS sooner than we initially thought, in order to prevent an Osborne effect, where I feel like near the end of this year, a lot of people might be skeptical about buying a Rivian because they're just going to wait for the NACS port to be built in natively. But so far, it sounds like they want to keep using CCS1 in 2024. That is technically what they said they would do. But I'm really excited to see the J3400 standard, the NACS port, actually find its way onto Rivian's vehicles, so that Rivian can hopefully start building adventure network chargers that have NACS. That way, they're all built out and optimized for the R2 vehicle, which we've already seen the NACS port on. We know NACS is the future. Rivian has committed to it. So I'm kind of like, come on, let's just get on with it. Let's move over to NACS as quick as we can, because we know it's the future. So the more vehicles you make with CCS1, the more customers there's gonna be having to live with those stupid Magic Dock adapters. What other changes were you guys hoping to see with the R1 refresh? Feel free to drop your wishes down in the comments below. And thanks again to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. And thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.